35 years for a kid who had decided to go under a tent that was not his team's tent as it was raining, and simply didn't want to be put out in the rain by some random kid that he didn't know who was larger than him.
This all around was heartbreaking, and it makes me wonder where we're going as a nation.
My son didn't intend to hurt anyone. My son was defending himself.
At the end of the day, there's nothing we can say or do for people to accept it.
The question on the minds of many Americans right now is this: at what age does a person become fully criminally responsible for taking a life? Can a 17-year-old really get 35 years in prison? Is it 18, 21, or does age even matter at all when a mother is burying her son, a father is standing over a grave, and a twin brother is trying to figure out how to live in a world that now only has one of them in it? Because here is what we know for certain. On April 2nd, 2025, a 17-year-old walked into a high school track meet in Frisco, Texas. By 10 a.m., another 17-year-old was dead, and the question that followed: can America really lock a teenager away for 35 years over something that lasted less than 60 seconds is one that a Texas jury answered on June 9th, 2026. Whether that answer was justice or something this country needs to seriously reckon with is exactly what we are here to examine tonight. A high school track meet, teenagers in uniforms, coaches, bleachers. The kind of Wednesday that no one photographs because nothing is supposed to go wrong. By 10 a.m., a 17-year-old was on the ground. His brother was trying to hold on to him, and somewhere in those same bleachers, another 17-year-old had his hands in the air, waiting to be handcuffed. From that moment forward, nothing would be ordinary again. Not for two families, not for a city, and not for a country that still cannot agree on what justice actually looked like when that gavel came down. This documentary contains details about the violent death of a minor and the criminal justice process that followed. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. If this is your first time on Phantom, welcome. We cover true crime and the criminal justice system without shortcuts and without spin. Every case we cover, we go all the way in. Hit subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below telling us, where in the world are you watching from tonight? Now, let's get into it. Before we go anywhere near that courtroom, you need to understand who these two teenagers actually were, because this case is too often reduced to a headline, and both of them deserve more than that. Austin Metcalf was born on July 31, 2007 in Frisco, Texas. He was a junior at Frisco Memorial High School, where he carried a 3.97 GPA. He was a linebacker on the football team, team MVP, and competed in track and field. At 6 feet tall and 225 pounds, he was built for sport. His teammates described him as a natural leader. One student testified during the trial that Metcalf was always leading and always protecting those around him. His mother remembered him as a morning person, a hugger, someone who always had a way of bringing people together. He had a twin brother, Hunter. They were inseparable. Austin had college plans. He had a future mapped out. Karmelo Anthony was born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and moved to North Texas in 2021. He attended Frisco Centennial High School, Memorial's crosstown rival. He held a 3.7 GPA and was captain of both the football team and the track and field team. Outside of school, he worked 2 jobs, at Foot Locker and the H-E-B supermarket chain. He had no criminal record of any kind. His defense attorney described him as a kid from a stable, close-knit family. His mother had worked as a nurse before stepping back to raise her children, and his father worked as a finance manager at a car dealership. 2 student athletes, 2 neighboring schools. They had never met before April 2nd. That is where the agreement ends. The UIL District 11 5A Championship track meet was scheduled that Wednesday, David Kuykendall Stadium on the campus of Memorial High School in Frisco. Multiple schools sent their athletes. The weather was uncooperative, overcast, with rain pushing in throughout the morning. When a rain delay was called, athletes scattered. Centennial High School did not have a designated covered tent in the bleachers. Anthony made his way toward the Memorial High School tent, the one belonging to Metcalf's school, and sat down underneath it. What happened next is where the two sides of this case permanently split. According to multiple prosecution witnesses, members of the Memorial team asked Anthony to leave. More than once, he refused. One student testified Anthony told them he was not leaving. A 16-year-old Memorial linebacker recalled Anthony saying directly to Metcalf, "Touch me and see what happens." That same witness told jurors Anthony challenged Metcalf to a fistfight. Metcalf's response, "I'm not going to fight at a track meet." Surveillance video, grainy but present, captured the confrontation building over approximately 4 minutes. Then, according to witnesses, Metcalf physically pushed Anthony, enough to move him from his seat, but as one witness put it, not enough to hurt him. Seconds after that push, Anthony reached into his backpack, produced a folding pocket knife, and stabbed Austin Metcalf once in the chest. Austin lifted his shirt, said, "I've been stabbed," and fell down the bleacher steps. Hunter Metcalf ran to his brother. Coaches held Hunter back as first responders rushed in. Austin Metcalf died from that single wound. He never made it to the hospital. Now, before we go to the arrest, here is something most people never stopped to think about when this story broke. The moment Anthony was put in handcuffs that morning, a legal clock started ticking. And the question everybody would eventually be asking, can America really send a 17-year-old to prison for 35 years? Was already being answered by laws already on the books. Here is the first part of that answer. In Texas, a 17-year-old is not a juvenile under the law. Under the Texas Family Code, juvenile court jurisdiction ends the moment a person turns 17. There is no certification hearing, no transfer process, no judge weighing options. At 17, you are automatically processed in the adult criminal justice system, with adult charges, adult procedures, and an adult sentencing range. That is the legal ground Anthony was standing on the moment those handcuffs went on. And that range, for first-degree murder under Texas Penal Code Section 19.2, runs from 5 years to 99 years or life in prison, not for adults only, for any 17-year-old charged with that offense in the state of Texas. We will come back to exactly where 35 years sits inside that range and why the jury landed there specifically. But first, let's go to the arrest. School resource officer Eduardo Cortez was at Staley Middle School just south of Kukendall Stadium when the stabbing call came across his radio. He ran to the stadium. Witnesses pointed him toward the suspect, already on the north end of the track on the other side of a chain-link fence. His body camera was rolling the entire time. Cortez gave Anthony instructions to keep his hands up. Anthony complied. As they walked along the fence toward an opening, Anthony said, unprompted, "I was protecting myself." Cortez patted him down, found nothing, and handcuffed him. On the walk to the police car, Anthony was emotional, repeating, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to." Then came the statement that would define the prosecution's entire case. As a second officer arrived on scene, Anthony looked at them and said, "I'm not alleged. I did it." Law enforcement later recovered the weapon, a blood-stained 3/5-inch folding knife. At the police car, Cortez testified. Anthony asked whether Austin Metcalf was going to be okay. He also asked whether what happened could be considered self-defense. Prosecutor Versky later noted that once Anthony was seated in the squad car, he appeared calm and collected. The defense pushed back on cross-examination, getting Cortez to acknowledge Anthony had been emotional throughout the arrest. Anthony was booked into Collin County Jail that afternoon on a $1 million bond and charged with first-degree murder. He was 17 years old. The case did not move quietly. Within days, it had become a national flashpoint. And not only because of what happened in that stadium. Anthony is black, Metcalf was white. Social media amplified the racial dimension immediately, and it spread fast. Fundraising campaigns launched for both families. Anthony's family raised roughly $625,000 through a Give, Send, Go campaign. The Metcalf family raised close to $600,000 through GoFundMe. Both families were harassed. Both received online threats. On April 14th, 2025, 12 days after the stabbing, Anthony appeared before Collin County District Judge Angela Tucker of the 199th District Court for a bond reduction hearing. Tucker, a Republican and Collin County's first black judge, reduced the bond from $1 million to $250,000, citing Anthony's age, clean record, and community ties. He was released under house arrest with an ankle monitor. The backlash was immediate. Tucker's personal address was leaked online. The Collin County Sheriff's Office and the FBI launched an investigation into threats made against her. She was placed under increased security. Anthony's defense attorney, Mike Howard, a seasoned Dallas area criminal defense lawyer, maintained from the outset that his client acted in lawful self-defense, telling reporters, "Every Texan deserves the right to defend themselves when they reasonably fear for their life." On the other side, prosecutor Bill Wersky, first assistant district attorney under Collin County DA Greg Willis, a Republican who has held that office since 2011, began building what would become a 21-witness case for the state. In June 2025, a Collin County grand jury indicted Anthony on first-degree murder. In July 2025, presiding trial judge John Roach Jr. of the 296th District Court issued a comprehensive gag order, barring everyone involved from speaking publicly about the case until after the verdict. Trial was set for June 1st, 2026, 14 months after the stabbing. And here is where that legal question gets sharper. A lot of people following this case assumed Anthony would face some kind of separate juvenile consideration, a softer process because of his age. That is not what Texas law provides. At 17, he walked into adult court carrying the full weight of the adult sentencing range, 5 years minimum, 99 years or life maximum. Keep that range in mind as we walk into that courtroom, because the number the jury ultimately chose, and why they chose it, will make a great deal more sense on the other side of this trial. If you are watching this and thinking this is the kind of breakdown you cannot find anywhere else, that is exactly what Phantom is built for. Subscribe right now if you have not already. This case gets even more complex from here. Jury selection began on June 1st, 2026 at the Collin County Courthouse in McKinney, Texas, with nearly 600 prospective jurors summoned, a number that reflects just how deeply this case had embedded itself into the public consciousness. Judge Roach had locked the proceedings down. No cameras, no live streams, no audio recording inside the courtroom. A maximum of 9 media members allowed in at any given time. No animated reactions permitted in the gallery. Trial exhibits sealed from the public until after the verdict. Outside the courthouse, protesters representing both sides gathered daily. A jury was seated on June 3rd, with no black jurors, though several jurors were people of color. The defense raised a Batson challenge when prosecutors struck 3 black female jurors from the pool, arguing they were similarly situated to a white female juror who was kept. The prosecution argued all 3 were struck for a race-neutral reason, their status as teachers of school-aged children. Judge Roach sided with the prosecution. Opening statements began June 4th. Prosecutor Wersky framed the case in plain terms. Anthony entered a closed team tent uninvited, refused repeated requests to leave, escalated the confrontation, and used a concealed knife in what Wersky called a sneak attack before fleeing. This case is about one thing, Wersky told the jury: what Karmelo Anthony chose to do. Defense attorney Howard built a different frame. He described Anthony as an honor student working 2 jobs, a team captain from a stable family who sat down during a rain delay with no harmful intent. His central argument came down to a single moment. Metcalf pushed Anthony first. Texas law does not require that you wait until you get hit to defend yourself, Howard told jurors. Anthony did not testify in his own defense. The prosecution called 21 witnesses before resting its case on June 7th. Neil Adams, a Frisco Fire Department paramedic, testified that he drove the ambulance directly to the stadium and that Metcalf never regained consciousness, had no pulse when first responders reached him. Officer Eduardo Cortez walked jurors through his body camera footage in full, including each of Anthony's unprompted statements at the scene, and testified that there was blood on Anthony's middle finger at the time of arrest. Jalen Matthews, 18, a classmate whose mother was the Metcalf family's pediatrician, testified that Metcalf's push was enough to move Anthony from his seat, but not enough to hurt him. Multiple underage student witnesses, whom Judge Roach requested not be publicly identified, gave consistent accounts of Anthony refusing to leave, issuing direct challenges, and reaching into his backpack before the stabbing. One witness told the jury plainly, "That's lethal force against non-lethal force." Then came the medical examiner, Dr. Elizabeth Ventura, Collin County's chief medical examiner, took the stand on June 6th. Judge Roach warned the courtroom before she began. The Metcalf family left the room. Dr. Ventura's testimony was clinical and decisive. Austin Metcalf had been stabbed through the heart. The wound measured 2.5 inches in length. There were no defensive knife wounds on his body. Her conclusion: the wound was not survivable. Several jurors visibly reacted when the autopsy photographs were displayed. The defense called Centennial track coach Adam Linwood, who testified that athletes commonly moved between tents at meets to socialize, and that Anthony's teammates had nominated him for team captaincy. When Versky asked Linwood whether there was any reason an athlete should carry a knife to a track meet, Linwood answered, no. The defense rested on June 8th without calling Karmelo Anthony to the stand. Closing arguments came on June 9, 2026. Wersky told jurors that surveillance footage proved Anthony was not surrounded, not cornered, and not facing any physical threat that justified pulling a knife. The kids under that tent, he said, were seated and looking at their phones. He closed with a direct line: mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Howard asked the jury to place themselves in his client's position. A teenager who felt physically threatened and made a decision under pressure, in a matter of seconds. In that split second of chaos, he said, you must put yourself in his shoes. Judge Roach gave the jury 2 options: first-degree murder or the lesser charge of manslaughter. He denied the defense's request to add criminally negligent homicide as a third option, ruling no evidence supported it. The distinction between the 2 charges is significant. Manslaughter means the death was caused recklessly. First-degree murder means it was caused knowingly. The jury had one job: decide which one described what Karmelo Anthony did under that tent on April 2, 2025. They deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty. First-degree murder. The jury concluded that Anthony knowingly caused the death of Austin Metcalf. Not recklessly, not negligently, knowingly. Now here is where the title question gets its complete answer. The jury had the full sentencing range in front of them: 5 years on the low end, 99 years or life on the high end. They chose 35. That number was not random, and it was not accidental. Here is what it actually tells you about how this system works. 35 years sits in the lower middle of that range. The prosecution asked for a lengthy sentence. They did not get the maximum. The jury weighed the fact that Anthony was 17, had no prior record, and had a documented history as a student and an athlete, and still returned 35 years. That means the jury took his age and background seriously. It just was not enough to outweigh what the evidence showed he did. Second, under Texas law, that sentence carries parole eligibility at exactly the halfway point: 17.5 years. Anthony could walk out of the Texas prison system at 36 years old. The jury built a door into the sentence. They gave him punishment and the possibility of a future at the same time. That was a deliberate choice. Third, and this is the part most coverage of this case skipped entirely, is that sentence even constitutional for a 17-year-old? The answer, under current American law, is yes. In 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Miller v. Alabama that mandatory life without parole for anyone under 18 violates the 8th Amendment's prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment. But that ruling covers only one specific scenario: mandatory life without the possibility of parole. It says nothing about fixed-term sentences with built-in parole eligibility. A 35-year sentence with parole at 17. 5 years is fully within constitutional bounds as American law currently stands. So, can America really send a 17-year-old to prison for 35 years? Under Texas law, yes. Under the United States Constitution, yes. The system was built with exactly this power. In Texas specifically, that power kicks in automatically at age 17 with no judicial buffer and no discretionary process. This verdict is that system operating precisely as it was designed to. Whether it was designed correctly, that is the question the law cannot answer. For you, that one belongs to all of us. Sentencing followed the verdict the same afternoon. The prosecution called no witnesses. The defense called one, Kayla Hayes, Anthony's mother. She told jurors her son was her firstborn, that she loved him, and that he was deeply sorry for what he had done. She asked for mercy. Then the Metcalf family stood up. Austin's aunt spoke first. She described April 2nd as a day that permanently fractured her family. The impact of his death is permanent. We will never know what he could have been. Megan Metcalf, Austin's mother, described walking past her son's empty bedroom every single day. She spoke of a boy who was a natural peacemaker. Now my conversations with him are one-sided, sitting at his grave. I've been sentenced to a lifetime without my son. Jeff Metcalf, Austin's father, addressed Anthony directly, his voice breaking into something raw and unfiltered. We were robbed. You don't belong in this community. You're going to prison. I forgave you the day it happened. I don't forgive what you did. Then Hunter Metcalf stood up, Austin's twin brother, the one who held him as he died. He asked Anthony to look him in the eye. Anthony kept his head down for every single word. Hunter spoke about spending the past year trying to choose forgiveness, trying to understand why. He spoke about a brother who was supposed to be by his side for the rest of his life, at his wedding, as a godfather to his children, as his best friend. He told Anthony that while his name might be attached to this crime for a while, Austin's name, his character, his leadership, his loyalty would outlast it. Eventually, Hunter said, "Your name will be forgotten." The jury sentenced Karmelo Anthony to 35 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, with parole eligibility at 17.5 years. Anthony sobbed throughout. He was remanded into custody the moment the sentence was read. His bond was extinguished on the spot. On June 10, 2026, less than 24 hours after the verdict, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice released a new booking photo, head shaved, standard issue TDCJ sleeveless tunic. Anthony had been transferred overnight from Collin County Jail to the Wallace Pack Unit, a medium-security TDJ prison near Navasota, Texas, approximately 60 miles northwest of Houston. That is where he will begin serving his sentence. That same day, his legal team filed a formal notice of appeal, describing several important issues for the appellate courts to consider. Anthony also filed separately, stating he cannot afford an attorney and requesting the court appoint one. The Gibson Go campaign that had raised $625,000 for his family had already been taken down by the platform following the conviction. Appellate attorney David Cole, not connected to the case, told CBS Texas that Anthony's team may have viable arguments, but stressed that an appeal does not retry the facts of the case. It examines whether the trial itself was conducted correctly. The Batson jury selection challenge, the denial of the criminally negligent homicide charge option, and the impact of extensive pretrial media exposure are among the potential grounds his team may pursue. For now, Karmelo Anthony is 19 years old and incarcerated. If he serves his full minimum before parole eligibility, he walks out at 36, having spent his entire 20s and the first half of his 30s inside a Texas state prison. Austin Metcalf will never turn 18. This case was never just about a seat under a tent. From the moment Anthony was arrested on April 2, 2025, the story was pulled in every direction simultaneously by social media, by activists, by politicians, and by people who had never set foot in Frisco, Texas, and who had already decided the outcome long before any jury was seated. Anthony is black. Metcalf was white. Both families stated publicly and repeatedly that race was not the cause of what happened that morning. Jeff Metcalf said it plainly. This was not a race thing. This is not a political thing. Jeff Metcalf said it plainly. This was not a race thing. This is not a political thing. Lawyers on both sides told jurors the same. And yet the case was flooded with racial framing from outside the courtroom, generating threats, protests, doxing, and a national argument that often had very little connection to what the evidence actually showed. Judge Tucker was doxxed and placed under federal protection simply for reducing a bond. Student witnesses were harassed online. Both families were swatted at their homes. Judge Roach, a man with more than 2 decades on the bench, described Collin County's handling of the case as a model for other jurisdictions managing high-profile proceedings. His term on the bench ends in 6 months. This was almost certainly his final major murder trial. The deeper issue this case surfaces is one the legal system has never cleanly resolved. When a teenager with no criminal record, strong academic standing, and genuine community roots makes a decision in under 60 seconds that ends another person's life, what does proportional justice actually look like? The jury gave one answer. Not everyone accepts it. And in a state where 17-year-olds are automatically legal adults with no judicial buffer at the point of entry, this case will not be the last time. That question forces itself into a courtroom. Austin Metcalf was a 17-year-old who went to a track meet on a Wednesday morning and never came home. He was a team captain, an MVP linebacker, a twin, a son, a friend. His family has carried this with more composure and more dignity than most people could manage under those circumstances. They did not ask to be at the center of a national debate. They asked for justice for their son. Karmelo Anthony is now in a Texas state prison, beginning a sentence that will define the entire arc of his young life. His family believes he did not receive a fair trial. His legal team believes the appellate courts will find errors worth correcting. That process is now underway. 2 families destroyed, 2 communities fractured, 1 case that forced America to sit with questions about age, accountability, race, and the meaning of justice. Questions that a 35-year sentence answered legally, but did not settle morally. This story is not over. The appeal is filed. The debate continues. And here at Phantom, we will keep following every development as it comes. If this video gave you the full picture of a case you have only ever seen in fragments, this channel is where you belong. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and share this with someone who needs the complete story and not just the headline. Drop a comment below. Tell us where you are watching from and tell us, do you think 35 years was the right call? Until the next case, stay sharp, stay informed, and we will see you on the next one.